Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. He doesn't belong on stage. Those words sliced through the auditorium, leaving a silence that felt like shattered glass. Thomas gripped the small bouquet of daisies tighter, his work-stained hands betraying every hour of the double shift he'd pulled just to be here on time. His daughter's eyes found his from the stage, her smile faltering. The school auditorium gleamed with fresh paint and proud parents in their Sunday best. Cell phones captured every moment of the award ceremony, flashing like stars against the backdrop of achievement. Thomas stood alone in the aisle, his faded work jacket suddenly feeling as heavy as armor in the wrong battle. "The director will present Lily's award instead," the coordinator announced, her voice honey-sweet but eyes cold as they assessed his oil-stained jeans. Thomas stepped back, chest tight with humiliation. What he didn't notice was the man in the front row slowly rising to his feet. Dwayne Johnson, the evening celebrity guest, his expression shifting from polite attention to something much more purposeful. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Thomas felt the weight of every stare as he retreated toward the back of the auditorium. His calloused fingers clutched the small bouquet he'd picked up from the corner store. $3 worth of daisies wrapped in cellophane, the best he could afford after paying the electric bill that morning. 12-year-old Lily stood frozen on stage, her achievement certificate waiting, her eyes locked on her father. The special dress they'd saved up for suddenly seemed to dim under the harsh auditorium lights. This was supposed to be their moment. The payoff for late nights helping with science projects after 16-hour workdays, for choosing school supplies over new work boots, for promising her that effort would always be recognized, always be enough. Now Thomas stood cornered by the unspoken rules of a world that judged worth by appearance, his daughter watching as he was deemed unworthy. Around Thomas, parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some averting their eyes, others whispering behind programs. A few phone cameras had pivoted from the stage to capture his humiliation, tomorrow's social media fodder. The coordinator, Ms. Winters, smiled thinly as she gestured for the school principal to approach the podium instead, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she waved Thomas away. "We need to maintain a certain standard," she murmured to another organizer, not quite quietly enough. Lily's shoulders slumped visibly, her moment of triumph dissolving into shame. From the special reserved section, several school board members nodded in agreement with Ms. Winters' decision, their expressions a mixture of secondhand embarrassment and relief. No one stood up. No one objected. The social hierarchy reasserted itself with the ruthless efficiency of long practice. Except in the front row, something was happening. Dwayne Johnson's jaw tightened as he watched the scene unfold. He'd returned to his old school as the success story, the local legend who'd made it big, invited to inspire the next generation. Now he sat in a tailored suit worth more than Thomas would make in months, watching a father being stripped of his dignity for the crime of working hard. The irony wasn't lost on him. The whispering crowd didn't notice how The Rock's expression had changed, how he'd set down the speech he'd prepared about perseverance and hard work. They didn't see how his eyes moved from Thomas to Lily, then back to Ms. Winters, assessing the situation with the same focus that had carried him from $7 in his pocket to Hollywood stardom. They didn't notice him reaching up to loosen his tie, a subtle gesture that those who knew him would recognize. Dwayne Johnson was about to go off script. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. Thomas had almost reached the exit, each step weighted with defeat, when a voice cut through the murmurs. Deep, authoritative, instantly recognizable. "Hold up a second." The words weren't shouted, but they carried the weight of command. The auditorium fell silent as Dwayne Johnson stood. His imposing figure, even in formal attire, commanded attention without effort. He wasn't smiling his famous smile now. Instead, his expression carried the intensity familiar to millions of fans worldwide. "Let me make sure I understand what's happening," he said, each word measured as he stepped into the center aisle. "We're celebrating academic excellence tonight, right?" He looked around, meeting the eyes of suddenly attentive board members and parents. Ms. Winters shifted uncomfortably at the podium. "Mr. Johnson, we're just following protocol for a dignified ceremony." "Dignified," Dwayne repeated, the word hanging in the air. He turned toward Thomas, who stood frozen, clutching his small bouquet. "Sir, those flowers are for your daughter." Thomas nodded, voice momentarily lost. "And you came here straight from work to see her receive her award." "Double shift," Thomas managed. "Didn't want to be late." Dwayne nodded, turning back to the audience with deliberate slowness. "You know, when I was invited here tonight, I was told I'd be celebrating the values that built my career. Dedication, sacrifice, hard work." His voice grew more resonant with each word. "I'm looking at this man, and you know what I see? I see someone who embodies every one of those values." Phones were up now, recording. The atmosphere shifted perceptibly as people realized they were witnessing something unscripted, something real. "Let me tell you something," Dwayne continued, moving closer to Thomas. "This jacket?" He gestured to his own perfectly tailored suit. "It's just fabric. These clothes? Just thread and buttons." He placed a hand on Thomas's shoulder. "But what this man is wearing, that's the uniform of someone who would do anything for his child." Ms. Winters cleared her throat. "Mr. Johnson, we certainly respect hard work, but we have standards for our presenters." "Standards?" Dwayne's eyebrow raised. "Then let's talk about standards." Dwayne turned to face the audience fully now, his presence expanding to fill the space. "When I was a kid sitting in these same halls, I had exactly $7 in my pocket at my lowest point. 7. My clothes weren't fancy. My future wasn't certain." He gestured toward the achievement banners hanging on the walls. "The lessons that matter most, I didn't learn them when things were easy. I learned them from people like this man right here." On stage, Lily watched with wide eyes, her certificate still unclaimed. A tear tracked down her cheek, but her expression had transformed from shame to something like wonder. "Success isn't about what you wear," Dwayne continued, his voice resonating through the hall. "It's about showing up. It's about putting in the work when no one's looking. It's about prioritizing your child's future over your own comfort." He looked directly at Ms. Winters now. "So, when you talk to me about standards, about dignity, about what belongs on that stage?" He pointed toward Thomas. "This man belongs up there more than anyone in this room, including me." The silence that followed was electric. Parents shifted in their seats, some looking down in embarrassment, others nodding in dawning agreement. The truth had been spoken aloud, and it couldn't be unheard. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. Dwayne Johnson turned to Thomas, his voice softening. "Sir, what's your name?" "Thomas. Thomas Miller," he answered, standing straighter now. "And your daughter's name?" "Lily," Thomas said, a hint of pride breaking through his embarrassment. Dwayne nodded, then did something unexpected. He removed his expensive suit jacket and handed it to a nearby teacher. "Hold this for me, please." Then he loosened his tie completely and rolled up his sleeves, transforming from polished celebrity to something more authentic. "Thomas," he said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I'd be honored if you'd allow me to walk with you to that stage so you can present your daughter with her award." He gestured toward the small bouquet. "Those flowers mean more than any trophy I've ever received, because they represent a father's love and sacrifice." Miss Winters stood frozen at the podium, her authority suddenly uncertain. The principal stepped forward, then hesitated, caught between protocol and the undeniable force of the moment unfolding before them. Thomas looked at Dwayne, then at his daughter on stage. Something shifted in his posture. A lifetime of stepping aside, of accepting smaller spaces, battling against the fierce love for his child. "Yes," he said, his voice growing stronger. "I'd like that." As they walked toward the stage together, the world-famous actor and the exhausted working father, a ripple of movement spread through the audience. Someone began to applaud, then another person, then a whole section. By the time they reached the steps to the stage, the entire auditorium had erupted in applause. Lily stood at the center of the stage, tears flowing freely now. The principal, sensing the mood of the room, stepped aside from the podium with a nod. "Ms. Winters," Dwayne said, his voice somehow both gentle and unyielding, "I believe this father has an award to present to his daughter." The coordinator looked around at the crowd, at the phones recording, at the unmistakable shift in the room. She stepped aside. Dwayne turned to Thomas. "This is your moment, sir. You've earned it." Thomas stepped to the microphone, his work-worn hands taking the certificate from the table. For a moment, he just looked at his daughter, their eyes meeting in a silent exchange of love that transcended every other force in the room. "Lily Miller," he said, his voice breaking slightly before finding its strength, "I am so proud to present you with this Academic Achievement Award." He held out the small bouquet with his other hand. "These aren't much, but—" "They're perfect, Dad," Lily interrupted, taking both the flowers and the certificate. Then she threw her arms around her father's neck, burying her face against his shoulder, heedless of the grease stains or worn fabric. Dwayne Johnson stepped back, giving them space while standing close enough that his presence made a clear statement. He looked out at the audience, at the parents and administrators, his expression both challenge and invitation. "This," he said simply, gesturing to the embracing father and daughter, "is what real dignity looks like." The applause that followed wasn't polite or obligatory. It was thunderous, cathartic, the sound of a room full of people recognizing a truth that had always been there, hidden beneath layers of social pretense. Some were standing now, their faces showing the transformative power of witnessing genuine courage and love. It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. As Thomas and Lily made their way back to their seats, the atmosphere in the auditorium had transformed. Parents who had averted their eyes earlier now made space, offering smiles and congratulations. Miss Winters stood at the edge of the stage, her expression a complex mixture of embarrassment and dawning self-awareness. Dwayne reclaimed the podium, but his prepared speech remained tucked away. "I came here tonight to talk about success," he said, scanning the room. "But I think we just witnessed a master class in what that really means." He gestured toward Thomas and Lily. "Success isn't measured in dollars or appearances. It's measured in the impact we have on those we love, in showing up when it matters, in teaching our children through our actions what really has value in this world." The crowd listened with a new attentiveness, many recording his words, others nodding in thoughtful agreement. By the ceremony's end, Videos of the incident were already circulating online. Hashtags formed: dignity, looks like, and The Rock stands up. Parents approached Thomas and Lily, offering congratulations and, in some cases, quiet apologies. Several fathers in business attire stopped to shake Thomas's hand, recognition passing between them, the understanding that circumstances could easily be reversed. Miss Winters approached tentatively, her composure partially restored. "Mr. Miller," she began, "I want to apologize for—" "It's okay," Thomas interrupted gently. "Tonight wasn't about me." Dwayne Johnson watched from nearby, declining photo requests for once, ensuring the spotlight remained where it belonged. In his years of fame, he had learned that true strength wasn't about physical power or status. It was about using whatever platform you had to lift others up. Later, in the parking lot, Dwayne found Thomas and Lily preparing to leave in an old pickup truck. "Mr. Miller," he called. "Got a minute?" Thomas nodded, still processing the events of the evening. "I meant what I said in there," Dwayne told him, offering his hand. "The world needs more fathers like you." Thomas shook his hand, standing straighter now. "Thank you for what you did." "No," Dwayne replied. "Thank you for reminding everyone what matters." He knelt slightly to meet Lily at eye level. "Your dad is the real superhero in this story. Remember that." As they drove away, Lily clutched her certificate and flowers, looking at her father with new eyes. Not seeing the worn jacket or the tired lines around his eyes, but the man who had stood his ground when it mattered most. Sometimes it takes a celebrity to remind us that the real heroes don't wear suits. They wear their dedication for all to see, even when it costs them everything. Wow, what a story. If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.